Good morning, good morning. Hit record, don't forget. Got it. What's up, guys? That was only a few people in here. Everybody's late. In case you're wondering, I didn't send out the recording from the earlier session because I fell asleep while I was waiting for it to download. It takes like half an hour. I wanted a nap, before London. I'll have to send them both out. Well, let's get to it. Let me bring up the news for today, first of all. Steve, thanks for asking. It was amazing. I'll email you a clip. It was amazing. It was one of those really good ones. Packed house. We're getting there. We're making progress. Yeah, I'll send you a clip later. Cool. Too much fun. The problem is it goes by, it feels like 5 minutes, 40-minute set. You want to play 2 hours. All right, so news. David, good morning. More coffee? Yes. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay. So Tuesday, February 6th, we have, looking at the news here, nothing high impact for New York. Nothing high impact except for Canada. We don't have high impact pound news coming. None at all. In just under an hour, we have that medium impact euro. Bubba. ECB person. Medium impact in an hour on the euro. We'll keep that in mind. But there's no big pound news today. Skip worrying about that. And you see New York, again, it's really not much going on. Canada, US, nothing big. That already came and went, right? We had the US news for now. It's behind us. Tomorrow, another light day for US. Crude oil is not big. Okay. All right. So euro dollars, take a look where we are now. Try to make sure we're all good. Okay. So the euro dollar did not move out of its range. That's just the one big difference there, first of all. You look at everything else, Friday, Monday, trend. But the euro's still in this rangy area. Doesn't mean it's not going to follow along whatever may happen next, but it held up well against the US dollar strength and yen strength. Well, that's another story. It did not hold up against the yen. Let's look at the situation in here. If there's a weakness, and I'm going to look at the last bottom here, see how it looks, shorting it down to support. Basically, everything, the US dollar strength is sort of driving the show for these guys. Again, you see the trend here. And if we get an up move and weakness, which I talked about earlier, it may have actually happened already. This was looking for weakness in this area that I marked up earlier today. It went to that area and gave weakness. There's also a little bump on volume here too, so let's give it a second. Maybe it'll revisit the high. That's the pound. Let's get to the euro last. How about that? different today. Oh, all right. I need my routine. But let's look in there and see how it's behaving, because it likely is. Actually, let me just compare how much of an up move all these guys are doing. Little of this, little of that. See, the euro has more of a move. So again, it's holding up a little better than the other pairs. So a bit of euro strength relative to the others, which wouldn't make it my first pair to want to short. They're likely going to correlate, but it may not have much of a down move. Again, there is some weakness here. Let it settle. It's not my first choice, so we can get to it last. So again, with the pound dollar, these are real moves. We did have some high volume on the, what was that, late news yesterday. Markets are okay. Everybody's going to live, right? Okay. But I wouldn't be looking to go against this move, and I'm looking for weakness in this area. Like I said, it did actually test there kind of off hours and did show a lot of volume, a lot of weakness. But here we have some strength. If we can revisit that and see weakness again, and maybe more volume than the strength, that would be nice. It's not enough strength to tell me to buy. You can see from the 1 hour point of view, I'm not going against this strong momentum. It's a real breakout, just to do the history. This big old area, it's a real breakout, and we stayed below the support. It's not a fake breakout. And we came back to test it. That's pretty much what this is. Here's the old support. So break test continuation is what I was talking about. And so a lot of times they overshoot to give you a double top fake breakout, of course. And that ended up happening there. But with some buying, maybe we'll revisit it and see. If the selling doesn't show up there, then it's higher up that I'm looking for a short. Again, with some buying, it may actually be able to move up and give shorts in other areas. But the first thing I'd like to see is how it reacts to this. I mean, it wasn't bad if you took it at the wrong time of day. It moved about 50 pips off the high from the planned spot. But let's take it from there and see what it wants to do. Again, a lot of selling needs to show up here to convince me. But with a good amount of buying, maybe it'll go higher and give a further retracement. So no rush. We'll see how it may set up. I could sneak a fib in there. That's the last move. All right, that's pretty much that. Anyway. Did I draw that right? Same thing. The fake break and the fib is the same area. So looking to short here, need the volume to back it up. If it doesn't happen and it moves up through there, there's our other areas to look at, which is really simple resistance support. If there's any bigger fibs in play, we'll see. We'll take a look if it ends up breaking that, if it doesn't set up there. But that's pretty simple. We're going with the trend. But with that extra bit of strength, we'll see. Maybe it'll go higher first before it sets up. But again, it's still all very bearish because the trend is strong, momentum is strong, and very simply, there hasn't been a lot of demand at low prices. So trend is still our friend. You don't even have to look at the 5 minute. There could be spikes of strength on the 5 minute. It doesn't even matter because it's really not high volume when you kind of step back. So again, earlier I was talking about this. Levels to look to short from to go along with this. This is the AU. Maybe it'll end up reaching fib today or soon. I like that we're not having to deal with selling into that. And if we're moving up, well, we're bearish. That's a good way to start the session. So you don't have to worry about chasing the price. We're looking for a weakness. And again, we had this marked up where this was the fib zone. No, it's not. What was that area? I did not just draw a random fib in there. That's very strange. Oh, it's not a fib. Okay. What is that? Oh, I think I was just talking about the area that I would look to short. Oh, I know what it was. Okay. and I said this a million times in the video too. This was the time of day when I drew it. I said if it makes a new low, you got to redraw the fib. It did that. Okay. More coffee. Yeah. This is the general area that I'm looking to short because I was talking about it could be a little bit lower, but now it all kind of lines up because see, I should have sent that video out because I drew this and I said if it goes lower, you end up with this sort of confluence thing. I'm going to. So again, it's sort of a break test continuation and a fib combined. Just to point out, there was a little break test continuation already happened. Again, here's the old support. We broke through, and this is when we came back to test it exactly, and then moved off of it. But if we're moving up again, which was ideally what would happen before it moves down again, then we could test that level again. And if we do a slight overshoot, we end up with the fib too. So weakness here, nice good volume, and we have that. Looking for entry on that if we get up there, and weakness. So it's a combination of a break test continuation pattern of the old support and of course the fib area. 50 fib there. If it wants to overshoot, we just get into the fib zone. Ideally, we're below this level on entry. So if we do get in there, I would want to see it outside of there so it's not really a fake breakout. We get back into the new low ground territory. So maybe somewhere around 87-ish could be an entry, which is about 45 pips to the bottom. Plenty of room. Even if the trend doesn't continue, it's a decent trade. And it may, of course, continue. Not a lot of buying, so it could very well continue. So again, on these down moves, that's really the theme here. Looking for the up move and weakness. Again, I drew the fib earlier, so now that it made a new low, I need to update that. That's the plan. It doesn't get more simple than that. We're talking about trending moves. Pull back to the fib area. Weakness comes in on a 5-minute. We do not need 1 hour confirmation because it's not counter trend, not counter background. So anywhere in that area up to the slight overshoot, right? Looking for weakness and the setup to form there. Couldn't be more simple. Of course, the projection is back to the low and maybe continue the trend. There's also a major support right there. If we hit that off the setup, then it's just picture perfect stuff, right? But as I say, the good thing about getting in the pullbacks is the trend does not have to continue in order to get a good trade. It could even double bottom and hit buyers, right? I'm trying to get that thing back. Come back to me. Thank you. If it just wants to double bottom and hit buyers, it's still a good trade. But again, judging the health of the downtrend, there's very little buying coming in. Accumulation style buying or anything. Profit taking. None of that was really done. So we're still very bearish here. So last week we had range is a range is a range. Trade the range. This is trend is a trend is a trend. Good momentum. No strength coming in against it. And this could just hand us the short, AUAJ. Now, looking at that pound strength that showed up in the 5-minute, I want to see if it's as extreme on the others, which, if not, may give a better. See, it doesn't quite stand out so much. That was on this chart, 945. If we go to the euro, the pound at 945, very high volume, and that's strength coming in. So, if multiple pairs are giving the same story here, downtrend, up move, now it's happening, looking for weakness. Obviously, I would pick the better looking one, so this disqualifies the pound for the moment as the better looking one because of the amount of buying that came in there. Again, here's the same time of day, and AU doesn't quite stand out as much. Again, these are 5-minute spikes. It doesn't change the background, but it does say we're likely going to move up. As I say, if you have a nice trend, and you have strength show up, good. You're a downtrend, you're likely going to get higher prices to see the weakness. So it's nothing horrible. But the pound does stand down, so as far as picking the better one, here's 945 here. So not quite as much strength. That might be a better situation. I think I like the AU or AJ definitely so far as the better pick. So the euro, again, the euro is holding up pretty well in these downtrends, as I was saying. And you see it really able to move up here. Now it's already reached fib. Let me check that since I drew all these fibs earlier. Yeah, it went a little lower. But in this case, euro dollar, remember, this is the middle of a range. I didn't do it. It's just what it is. Now they're likely to correlate, and if things trend down, it'll trend down, and it could visit the low again. So let's take a look at how it's behaving here. But again, it's a really nice momentum behind it. A nice move. Not a lot of profit taking and buying and demand down here. And let's see how it's reacting to this fib area. Is there a weakness? This is 10 minutes into London Open, because we have to remember there's usually a volume spike at that time. Here's the actual London Open. Not much of a spike. Here's touching the fib area for the first time 10 minutes in to the session. So that's a really nice reaction there. Now here's a higher close, right, with a little less volume. Ideally, the high volume is off the high price, as I always say, if it's a short setup. And it decreased a little, but we'll give it some time. It could do the 618 overshoot, right? But we'll see if it sets up. We're in the area now. Again, it's the best thing you could possibly see to start the session is that we're in a downtrend, that we want to stay with the trend. It says volume, and moving up to start. So we don't have to worry about chasing it. It's going to hopefully come to us with the setup. Again, same story here. Pound already marked up, but the fib needs to be updated. Check that 945 volume. See, a little bit more on the pound than on the others. But if they set up, they're likely to correlate. So it looks like if things want to just be perfect today, right, hand us something easy, it's a bit more of an up move in the next 20 minutes or so, whatever it is. We go a bit higher and we see weakness come in on nice high volume, where ideally the more the better as far as these pairs correlating with levels that you want to trade from, and it's just very clear what's going on. So obviously if this could reach fib area, AU, AJ could reach fib. EJ is already there, so maybe it'll be a little overshoot or something, or maybe skip the euro because it's held up well relative to the others in this down move. Again, pound yen. If we just move a bit higher, we have a really easy textbook situation to look for the entry, which is more likely than not to set up if we get there. So that's the plan. Very simple there. So with the correlation of the dollar strength, yen strength, they say the dollar is the safe haven, and when the markets had such a day like they did Monday, But the yen is certainly, so says the chart, also safe haven. A lot of strength on the yen and the dollar from yesterday's situation. And that may have been really what drove things down more than, selling of the euro, selling of the pound, selling of the Australian dollar. It's putting money in, buying up demand, coming in for US dollars and yen. I would guess is a little more of what's behind the move. But either way, the setup's pretty textbook. We'll see if it can come to us. Some are very close. This is 20 pips away from the area we need to look at for the setup. This guy is 15 pips away. 20. So see if we can get up there. Oh, there's some nice weakness there. Okay, this is revisiting that area. 10 minutes out. Okay, it's a nice reaction. So no rush. We'll see if we get a short setup. If we go a little higher, ideally. All right, good. The volatility is certainly there. We like that. Should be really good between now and, June, July, when things start to slow down. But really good as far as not sitting around stuck in a range without doing much, small move, The volatility is seriously there. Very good. It's also the best condition when the yen and the US dollar are correlating and driving the moves. And we generally have the same situation across these 6 pairs. It's just a sign that markets are good and clean, best condition to trade. I always rather have that than, the pound is doing something, the Australian dollar is doing, they're all in different worlds. It tends to be sloppier. So this is good. Let's just make it easy and get that short. But whatever the chart says. Give me 1 second. So how about that Bitcoin? Oh no. Oh yes. Oh yeah. We actually have a proper, really good sign of weakness here. As I said, I have a plan. This thing's going down. That's fine. I'm not buying in this area. There is no strength showing up. We actually got weakness. So the projection is still to continue down. Down. I wanted to see it test 6, which it actually did right there. And 1 hour point of view, really no sign of strength or anything there. This Bitcoin, let's back out. Oh no. Oh yeah. What is the value of Bitcoin? Nobody knows. It's too young. It's all over the map. So at this point, it's letting the strength come in, letting it set up properly, and it's certainly not communicating that at all. Like I said, I had a plan to buy it on the way down. I would have considered it here if the strength was large, but it definitely is not. And we'll see where it may bring the buyers. So for now, hey, if we're looking to short it or chase it, I don't know. I wouldn't do that or anything. I wouldn't sell my Bitcoin at this point. Nothing to do. But let it go where it's going to go and find buyers and let it find its price. So generally, this move in the markets that happened, they talk it up on the news and make it such a big deal. It's really not, because it would be the strangest thing in the world for markets to really, at this point. I mean, the Dow and everything, it was just floating up and up and up. I mean, there's a little bit of profit taking and whatever, so be it. But the fundamentals are really strong, right? If you're watching that, trading that, uh, unemployment is down, wages are up, companies are opening factories, blah blah blah. GDP is up. Everything's doing very well. So this down move is on the Dow, S&P, everything is likely to get just bought into, and I wouldn't be surprised if today, Tuesday, we're right back up to where we were, and it's kind of forgotten about in a day or two, because they'll be buying into the dips, especially those who kind of missed out on the initial move, maybe thought that the markets were going to crash because Trump became president. Nice prediction. But a lot of people predicted that way off. And I think they're a little butthurt. They want to buy they want to buy the dips, and they want to get a piece of the action, because the projection is still very good for the US. So, I mean, to think in the mind of big money, smart money, in markets in general, they're very likely going to buy these dips, buy them all right up, and we could go right back to where we were and forget about that little dip that happened. That's my guess. I'd have to look at a chart to really see. But the fundamentals are just too strong for any sort of real, recession. It would make absolutely no sense. It would make less sense than the recovery. The fake one, that is. The one that happened after 2009. The fake recovery. And then we got a real recovery, so a little retracement is fine. So yeah, again, with these, they're correlating where they're very bearish for the moment. And as far as the price cost averaging, buying it to low prices when strength comes in, when the chart says so, there's none of that at the moment. So it's nothing for me to do here. If it wants to go to 5, it'll go to 5. I'll buy wherever that strength may show up, but it's certainly not here. So I'm just going to wait that out. Like I was saying before, a lot of people are long from 11, 12. Price was here for a long time. I did buy lower into it, around 8, 10, 3, 9 something, 8 something. Again, with the whole plan that wherever this thing goes, I'm good with it. So if it wants to go down, I'm looking to buy lower. And it could be around 4 or 5 or wherever that strength shows up and convinces me. I'm not trying to catch the falling knife or anything. And averaging the cost where I may be more, somewhere around 7,000 with my average entry. If maybe I'd have to do the math on that, but around 5 or whatever, see where buyers come in. So for now, I'm not touching it. Let it go down. Let it give a good lower price. That's fine. All right, let's see these guys develop. So some medium impact news in 30 minutes for the euro, but no high impact for the pound today. And again, really good downtrends. If we move up and see our weakness, then it's textbook. Let's see if it comes to us at this point. The EJ, yeah. Again, euro not my first choice because that's held up a little better in these down moves. So really AU, AJ would be nice for the shorts. Okay, let things develop a few minutes, see where we go. I'm already on my second cup of coffee. See, taking a nap before the session, I'm groggy. It's better just to stay up. Remember, it's 3 a.m. for me. I'm better off if I just stay up. I hate waking up. Luckily, it's easy today. I could examine charts in any condition, though. I'm sure. 4 days, no sleep, drunk. Not that I really drink much. Inject me with some drugs, and then put a chart in front of me. I'll still end up with the answer. I could do this in my sleep at this point. Again, in the end, a lot of the stuff is simple. It's when things go, just noticing from what people say, it's when things go off the sort of template of the market, and when people are trying to decipher the background, and sometimes it can get a little tricky. But the principles, you stick to them, where the high volume occurred, what was the reaction to it. But in this case, it's, sometimes it's just that simple. It's a downtrend that hasn't seen a lot of strength. So you want to get with that on the retracement. And there's not a lot of levels to draw or anything here. A lot of them really have nothing but fib and the moving averages. But really, I'd take the fib over that. Sometimes, you'll get like the break test continuation sort of fib snapping together, confluence stuff. But it's really simple, the fact that the low prices on a good strong move haven't shown a lot of volume. Now, if the fibs were really high up because it was a big move, then I would be looking at lower levels, whatever I could find, which could be the 14 EMA, which is acting as resistance in some of them. Previous support to resistance, which I didn't mark here, but we do have that. That's certainly a accurate thing to put in there, because that's the previous support. Here's the really the original support is this one, but here's the previous support to resistance, just in this pattern. So you have that, you have the old support, you have fib, you have 14 EMA, and a good strong move, and that's why it's not even able to get through all that confluence. And again, some selling hit there. That's the level I just drew in. There's some selling, a little decrease in activity there. So maybe we'll go higher. Just move up and give weakness, and everything's easy today. Let's get my double charts going. This MT4 only saves what I do when it feels like saving what I do. Sometimes it doesn't want to. Up is good. My first choice is probably AU or AJ. That's definitely my first choice for the short. Again, Euro held up a little better than the others, and the pound saw a bit of strength. Doesn't make it an invalid setup. It just makes the AU, AJ a little better. They're all kind of correlating. I try to pick the best, most textbook-looking situation. Mohammed, okay. I know you're fairly new, so you can ask the stuff, definitely. The biggest difficulty is how to confirm uptrend is changed to downtrend. The thing is, like I say, going against trends, I try to go, I'm always going with a trend. If there's an obvious trend, I'm going with it, unless there's ultra high volume, which is really traditional VSA stuff. It's not anything that I invented. So when you get to, let's say, you have an uptrend, or let's talk about the situation here now. So things are trending down. The only way I would look to buy, there's really two options. but really one. But I'll explain it. The only way I'd look to buy is if there's high volume showing up on a 1 hour chart. So when I'm going with the trend, I'm not so concerned about the 1 hour chart setting up properly. Which time frame trend? When I say trend, I'm talking about really the 1 hour chart. I mean, I start with the large time frames and all that, but the momentum or the trend, sometimes it's just obvious. So, in this case, it's down. It's very really. I'm talking about the last few days, the 1 hour structure, to be a little more specific. We have a couple of days. We have lower lows and lower highs. So that's what I mean by trend. Yeah, and again, you see off the low price, no volume increase, no high volume. The lower the volume is off the low price, the less demand is coming in, buying, the less profit taking is going on. This low volume here says at a good low price where these sellers could get out for a good profit, they didn't. There was very low activity down here, so they're still in those positions. It's about tracking where the big money is. They're still short. If they would have gotten out, there would have been a lot of activity because there's a lot of selling throughout here. So what changes things around, again, is traditional VSA is high volume on a 1 hour chart to stop the progress of the move at the low price. Now, we did have high volume here, and what happened as a result? It didn't stop the price. It actually continued, right? And here's the low price without the strength. So the low price, if that were to show high volume strength, that would be the time to go counter trend. And so simply, if you can look at the different time frames, but the 1 hour and the 5 minute is really what it comes down to. The 1 hour for the overview, and to see if volume is agreeing or disagreeing with going with the trend. So in this case, it definitely agrees. Now, even if there's some large spikes of strength on the 5 minute, it's still, in the bigger picture, very little activity. So you put it into perspective and you see it's really not high volume, besides a spike here and there. And those little spikes can give you the retracement to look to get in, with the trend. So it's really, I use the 1 hour for that. Traditionally in VSA, it's 1 hour, 4 hour, daily charts, whatever it is. It's the higher time frames showing the high volume to stop the progress, to tell you that the trend is turning. From that point, there's also the sort of accumulation and if you talk about the Wyckoff stuff, there's other stuff to get into, but that's the key, is that there's no high volume in this low area, which tells us we go with the trend. And on entries to go with the trend, which is confirmed because of the lack of high volume, I just use the 5 minute. So the only time I'm really concerned about the 1 hour giving high volume is counter trend situation. So hopefully that helps. Okay, good. Like I say, trends go out with a bang, and a strong trend should have high volume to stop the AU, to stop the move. The only other thing, like this, right, ended up being the high. It's the high volume progress. We talked about this. It was a bit of strength, and that's why it went sideways for a while. That was sort of predictable. We got the trade there, but here, right, this was. And some of these moves were really, So this one was, a nice trend that went for a while. It took a little break in the middle, but it's obviously an uptrend that goes out with a bang, high volume off the high price. It never passed that price. Once that happened, the reaction, right? So all through here, there was not high volume to stop the progress. There may have been here and there, but then it continues and the high price isn't showing high volume, then it's still, buying situation until it ends properly. You're looking at the AU 1 hour for the past week. In terms of 1 hour, there was buying. It is not accumulation on the AU in the past week. If you're seeing lower prices without high volume, then it's definitely not accumulation. That's how so it works together. So in this case, if this was accumulation, again, the volume would have to be high off the low. And that's really just a sign of strength. If it wants to actually accumulate at this level, then you go into this range where you're constantly seeing off the lower prices bounces on increases in volume because they'll be buying in this area. You'll even get fake breakouts, right? Because if price breaks, it hits stop losses of longs and they sell it off to buyers who are looking to buy low. There are those who chase the breakout and sell a breakout in a trend, right? And buyers could come in and buy that up and create this high volume spike of strength. So that sort of thing is what you see in accumulation when you're buying over time in a good price area. Technically, strength is strength if we had high volume, but it's really accumulation if they're accumulating positions through the lower area. And it builds up a support or fake breakouts or springs, Wyckoff, and you see the large buying consistently in a price area. Then it's accumulation, technically. Accumulating longs. EU. Okay. Hopefully that's all helpful. Accumulation in the past. Well, it was a range. We defined it as simply a range because the background positioning high volume was mixed, right? So here we have weakness, and here we have strength, just because of the high-low price rejection on the high volume, right? Very consistent. So, and I said back then, this is a good recipe for a range. We need more information. And I said back then, I don't think you were around. I would either buy off this area or sell off this area. So it wasn't definitively one or the other. You see, it's conflicting. And I did end up buying here, but not because it's accumulation or reaccumulation of the uptrend, because it was a range. It's a range trade. I would have just as well sold off the high. Do we see high volume, accumulation down here? Oh, there's a bit, but it's more of rangy conditions. Another symptom of range, you get stuck in the middle, really stuck. You see these candles, you get stuck in the middle of a range. That happens a lot, and you get sharp, turns off the top and bottom. So I buy low, sell high in a range. Very simple. Now, in this case, it's still technically in a range. It makes it not my first choice to look to sell it, although things would likely correlate. But you see how it's still in this range, so it held up well when these others really moved down. So not my first choice there. But that I simply say is a range because of the background volume showing strength and weakness. So I didn't really give a direction. It allowed me to either buy low, sell high. Okay, good. Yeah, Mohammed. See, a lot of people in here, I recognize that I know have been with me for a while. So I tend to not always repeat things. So really feel free to ask anytime, any question you have. I kind of sometimes cater it to, who I think is listening. And I know most of these, guys, Sean and Steve and David. So you guys know kind of this stuff. So, but yeah, feel free to ask. Because once you know, within a week or two or three, you definitely should know a lot more than where you started. So, yeah. All right, see how things develop. Moving up is good. Moving up is good. Let it come to us. We're almost at the potential sell areas here. Very close. A little leg up on the 5 minute. We're going to get some information about sellers. So when it comes to these areas, let's look at AJ because it's quite close. We'll see AU as well. And look at AU. So, like I say, it's a simple fib retracement of a downtrend. But what happens at these areas is you get information on the condition, and it's basically new high ground for the day too, for the session. But the fib area is going to tell you how excited the sellers are, how active they are, right when you hit 50 fib. So this is, again, the sell zone, supply zone. If sellers were looking to become active, this is where they're going to pick up their sell activity. The fib area is like the most reliable besides, support resistance. It's pretty much a support resistance before it even, has formed. Just the 50 to 618 area. So it's a resistance. So if selling picks up at the 50 fib and gives a large spike of weakness and comes down, that says sellers are very excited. They came in right at the area at which we were looking for them. On the other hand, you could have, just slight volume increases, not much of an increase, and in that case, maybe move up and do a slight overshoot of 618, and maybe there see the weakness. But whatever goes on in this area, the higher the better, with the volume leading to a rejection, to tell you that sellers are getting in there. But sometimes you'll see it hit the 50 fib. A lot of you know this, and you'll see an initial spike in volume. It doesn't necessarily come down off of that. It still could go higher and give more weakness, but it shows you that there are sell orders just kind of waiting in this area, as opposed to, what you don't want to see is you're just floating up through here without volume increases. That means sellers are not very interested. So it is pretty black and white with that. So not only for the setup, but to give you information, if for some reason we weren't looking to sell yet or whatever, you could draw smaller fibs, and it gives you information about that stuff. Yeah. Well, the thing is with VSA trading or Wyckoff or proper supply demand, just reading the charts right, really, you want to know where big money is positioned from, right? Which is shown on high volume. What direction they're positioned in, which is shown on, was it high volume into a high price rejecting? That means they're short, right? High volume into a low price rejecting upward, it means they're long. So where are they positioned from? What direction? And thirdly, are they still in those positions as the storyline is going on? So you can have a sign of strength and an uptrend, and the uptrend hasn't seen high volume weakness. That tells you they're still in. It tells you want to stay with that trend. So it's not like we're sitting here trying to figure out what the best thing is for the market to do. We're trying to follow the biggest and best and smartest traders. Like I say about smart money, quote unquote smart money, they don't have some secret control over the market. They don't get together in the mornings and talk about what they're going to do today to take everybody's money. Let's put the price here and we'll put the price there. They don't have that much control. It's really like-minded, proper trading with large amounts of money who know what they're doing. So if they know what they're doing and they have large amounts of money, they are going to be operating a similar way, right? They're going to be taking advantages of imbalances in the market. They'll take advantage of things, like an uptrend that's been going on for days, and then suddenly good news comes out. And even more people buy. And at that point, you can have an imbalance in supply and demand, that there's so much buying to the left that whoever's looking to buy is in the market already. And you can actually end up with a lack of demand. And they could be a step ahead and looking to sell when everybody's thinking it's a bullish environment, right? So they'll take advantage of whatever the situation could hand to them, based on what the herd is doing. If they want to buy low and bad news is out, good. They'll let it come down. They'll buy into the down move. If that's what they're looking to do. So it's really just a way of trading right. Buying low, selling high, and looking for the imbalance. Smart money doesn't chase breakouts. Typically, if breakouts happen, they're already in. They're marking up and marking down from there. So it is really about following them. So when I say buy came in, sell came this and that, this isn't some consensus of traders. This isn't the 80%, 90%. It's a smaller percentage that has all the money. They may be 20% of the market, but they have 90% of the money. So those are the guys you want to follow. Banks and hedge funds, etc. They make their mark on the chart with high volume. They can't hide the volume. And if they know what they're doing, which they do, and you know what you're doing, you're going to be on the same page. Again, here, back then, in the earlier video, which I have to send out, I was expecting selling to come in this area because it's a good downtrend. They're holding on to those shorts. and it gives you a fake break and a fib. And, then this popped up and that popped up. So after a while, you start to understand how they operate and what they're looking to do. There's only so many patterns, really. The fake break, the fib retracements. In the end, the market does a lot of things over and over again. You're either ranging or trending. It's not really a ton of stuff. There's a template. Let's see, AUAJ. One more little move up, and we can see how excited the sellers are, right? See if they show up right away. But like I said, that's the situation that I would pick. It could change where something else looks better, but for the time being, selling one of these slightly higher. If the weakness comes in, we start looking for the setup. That seems to be the best situation here at the moment. All right. Well, I'm not in a rush to go, so I'll give it a little time and see. There is medium impact news for the euro in 6 minutes. Not really a big deal, and not really my first choice to take a trade on the euro anyway. So we'll see how things develop a little higher, and we're going to get some black and white answers as far as the next move. So let's see if we get that. All right, just give me a few, just giving a few minutes for things to develop here. Steve, when I send you this video, you're going to say, what? That's you? What? That's not you. I was going to show it now, but no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay mysterious. So, it looks like actually there's more people in here than there was 5 minutes ago. Hi, people that got here at the end. I am going to be hanging around a little bit. To get to the point here, we're looking for slightly higher prices, and we have really good potential short situations. I particularly like AUAJ. If we can get up to the fib area and see weakness, go with the trend. So very simple. See if we get a little higher, get that weakness. The market certainly calmed down since London open increase. So we're back to some regular levels in activity, and we could see a nice relative spike if we get a little higher. Start off the setup. John, what's up? Okay, well, you didn't miss anything because, again, basically these down moves Friday, yesterday, that's the direction. There's strong momentum. There's no demand coming in against it really or anything. And luckily, we start the session moving up, looking for weakness, and hopefully a little bit higher, and we can get a potential short there. So, Steve, I have a problem with my left hand and forearm cramping when I'm on stage. Any advice? I tried massaging it before I play, and it actually helped. Maybe if I practice. But oh my gosh, as I'm getting older, it's getting worse. By the end of the set, my left forearm and wrist look swollen. It really sucks. Halfway through the solo, I crap out. Massage, yeah, that's all I can think of. I do that. It definitely helps. Yeah, I got to do more of that. I'll go to a masseuse before a gig and just do an hour on my one arm. Yeah, that's what I figured. Sucks to be in pain. In the middle of the solo, you're crapping out. You're like, oh, God. Your right arm does it? Hmm. See, your right arm is all right. That you just kind of move up and down a little bit. The left is like, oh, the bending of the wrist and everything. That shit gets to me. It kills my arm. I've had right arm too, though, yeah. Where it's like so much effort just to. So yeah, if you're ever watching a guitarist and as the set goes on, he seems to be getting sloppier and sloppier. He's probably in pain. For joint pain and swelling, take boron and turmeric. Ah, okay. That's right. Boron, I never. Turmeric, yeah, I've heard of it. Okay. I'm doing that next gig. I'm doing all the treatment. Maybe some Gatorade, electrolytes. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm doing the total treatment for the next gig. It's old man stuff. 41 is old for a rock guitarist. All right, yeah, good ideas. I'm doing the full treatment next gig. Gosh. I still will. I still do. God. Plus, I play worse. Hopefully, on this little, maybe we'll get a little pullback to the 14 where these little trending moves tend to do another leg. You may be experiencing degraded audio quality. Please close. Close what? I can close this because I ain't buying it until it bottoms off properly. I can close the cryptos. See how Litecoin responds to this. But until I see large volume strength stopping the moves, I guess I can close the charts. Weakness. No strength. That Euro news was 5 minutes ago. Light impact? I thought it was medium impact. I swear it was medium. Oh, I'm on the wrong day. Yeah, that could be it. Back to today. Yeah, there it was. Retail PMI is coming out in 4 minutes for the euro. Light impact. All right, whatever. It's interesting because the euro itself did show a good weakness rejection situation, even though it's what level is that? It cannot be a random level. Yeah, overshoot 618. That is a really good reaction. Let me get in there. See, the reason why I went to the 1 minute, for those of you who are learning, oh, I'm breaking up still? Hello, hello, hello? Is it still breaking up? Wow. I better not be starting with this business. Better? Okay. Let me close my Safari altogether. Goodbye. What else could I do? That's it. Um, as things are developing, the sign of weakness actually is the best on the euro dollar, which was not my first choice, but that was before this. This sign of weakness, overshoot 618, really did stop the progress. Now, just to point out, here's the entrance into the fib area, which is nice high volume, which is really what you need, 5 minute. Remember, it's a bearish situation. We've had a retracement. So we did hit that. That's 10 minutes after London Open. It's not the London Open spike. That was London Open. So that's really a good spike. Now, high price, high volume, I always say, right? And I'm looking at this going, well, we have to check the 1 minute and we can get in there and see, because that is important to me to see that on the setup. So there it is, right? To get a little more specific, the high price 1 minute, and there's your fake breakout. There's your weakness into the fib area. So I may actually put a position on this. Here it's getting to the 14 EMA, which is the first thing that I would want it to do. Yeah, reception breaking up. Gosh. Hmm. Oh, Sean, yeah, I'm not on Skype. I'm not on Skype. I said I would be, but I never ended up doing it. It just turns out to be a distraction with all the pop-ups. I ended up liking this. Is the sound really horrible right now? In and out? Wow. I don't know. Let me restart MT4. Let's see if it works any better with MT4 closed. I mean, it really shouldn't be an issue here as far as internet connection or anything. So now I have nothing running on this computer except for the webinar itself. It really should be fine. If it's not, it's GoToMeeting. It's not me. Internet is good. Computer is good. All right, I'm restarting MT4 now. Watch all my drawings. Now, no good now, in and out. Wow. Darn. It's still saying you may be using degraded. Oh my gosh. I'm just playing with the sound settings here to see if anything improves. It still is showing me like a weak signal. Moderate. Okay, it looks like it improved a little bit. Fair. Oh, now it says good. Okay. All I did was change the sound settings to something else and change them back, and now it says my connection is good. Okay. Good, 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 good. I did not want to restart this thing. Okay. Learn something new every day, so if that happens, I can change the sound settings and change them back. That was not me. That's not my internet or computer. So the webinar might be a little glitchy. Okay, so what I was saying was very important right now. Euro dollar was not my first choice, but here we are at a fib retracement, and this is what's really showing the weakness. Now, weakness here entering the fib area, very important, but what about the high price, as I'm always saying, right? I like to see weakness off the high price for the best setup. Now that we know where we are, it's about price areas, not time to go to the 1 minute, a little more specific information, and there is the spike off the high price. Overshoot 618, fake break pattern, right? This is the test area, 14 EMA, automatic support. Sound familiar? No demand. 14 EMA, no demand. Drop in volume right there. That's the 14 EMA test. There's your volume. So now we're starting to push through the automatic support and confirm the no demand. If I'm very quickly got to get ready to possibly enter this trade. Stop loss at 2440, basically. Let me see about entering this. 1 second. So potential euro dollar short. Stop at 2440. I'll let you know if I enter. I'll do about a half position. If something else sets up, I can take that as well. But they were all generally correlated with the dollar strength, but the euro is the one that showed weakness now that we're getting into the session here. It could have maybe be affected by the Euro news. I don't know. So I'll let you know. I may be entering this here. And hopefully the AUAJ has one more up move, and it didn't even show really weakness, which, the background tends to play out no matter what because that's the background, but I would want to see weakness. At least the Euro did give that. And looking at EJ, that's confirming the short situation. Not quite as good of a setup as Euro dollar as far as the weakness, so Euro dollar is my choice. But I'll be clear if I go in. Like I say, if I get into a trade, I say I'm in the trade when I'm actually getting in. Sometimes I get very close, but for example here, we're into the new low ground as I, call it, sort of off of this pattern, which can go sideways for a while. We broke the levels we needed to break. Automatic support 40 EMA. And if there's strength here, it could bring it right back up. So that's what I'm just checking for, and I don't see it. Don't see it. Likely, if it just breaks this little low here, I'm going to get into this trade here, about a medium risk, and I could take something else as well if it sets up. Okay, here we go. Well, I'm getting in this trade here, Euro dollar short. Stop at 2,440. It's about a 35 pip stop. So risk in check. Not a big position here. Medium risk for me. Stop at 2,440. 2,440. And that's allowing if it wants to range and retest the high, and slightly above if it wants to do an extra fake breakout or something. And the targets are on the large side too, so it's all good. Okay, so I'm in the trade here, about a medium-sized position. Euro dollar short in the trade. Okay, back to the chart. If there's any questions on that entry, but if you know my material, if you've seen my setups before, should be getting pretty repetitive. Again, the one thing that's off in the 5-minute is that ideally this has the highest volume. Now, this is really good for entering the fib area. Like I say, right away it starts to give you information about the excitement of sellers, right? And we did get that. And then you're looking at that, right? Just to be clear, for those who aren't, I go to the 1-minute chart and I see that. That's how specific it is that I like to see high volume with the high price. These guys could be lower volume. This could be lower volume. It doesn't matter. And on a 5-minute chart, you're not really going to get a spike because for all 5 minutes, it was quiet except for 1 minute, the high price. And slight overshoot 618, right? Getting tired of hearing me say it, that means good. You know the setups. Okay, I like this trade. Hi, trade. You look pretty friendly. But again, stop losses are placed where the setup actually gets canceled out. It's not in a random area where a little bit of noise, a little bit of chop ends up hitting the stop loss, right? So 40, 42, you end up where the point is visually you want to allow the fake breakout. Fake breakouts can happen, 3-4 times, right? And if it gets sold into and there's weakness and it comes down off of it, it actually improved the setup. So putting a stop loss right there, right? That's what everybody's doing. You need to leave a little bit of room if it wants to do that extra little spike up. Now, beyond that, right? Here's 40. Like you start to get beyond that, 45. And this is, to me, not a fake breakout territory, slight overshoot of 618, right? It's just visually, if you can see if it's getting up here, the whole selling off of fib retracement and the slight overshoot is really canceled out. The setup is really canceled, once you get to 45. So, placing the stop loss there for a reason. So, you look at the pip count. It's roughly 35 pip stop, which is a little bigger than usual. And calculate your risk. And in this case, it's about a 50% of my max tolerance exposure. Now, as far as targets, simple stuff. A lot of you know it, but what do you do on a move like this? The main target, back to the low. This is a fib retracement target, so to speak. Back to the low, and if a lot of demand does not show up there, continuation. I'm treating this like a trend. Remember, there was big weakness off the high back there. The low prices didn't show any strength, really. We have a lower lows, lower high structure. It's technically a range, but volume is no longer agreeing that it's a range. If there's going to be a lot of selling here and not a lot of buying down there, it's locked up with the others now. It's bearish. So I'm letting volume, confirm that it's not a range. The 1 hour did show a little activity there, increase. So for targets, I'm treating it like a trending move or a simple fib retracement entry. So targets are, again, the bottom as the main target, sort of. If we end up there by the end of today, I'm happy. It's about 50 pips away from entry. And also, like I say, you could set and forget and do a partial target, this and that. But if you're around to watch the trade at the time that it's here, you could set an alert, right? Whatever, watch it on your phone. And it doesn't have to be any fancy platform. You just need price and volume. If 5 minute, 1 hour, but really the 5 minute is not showing you high volume stopping the progress, right? If it's not showing strength, then I would take partial profit and look for another target for it to continue. Which, if you back out, what's back there? I really just wait for strength to show up and try to ride it out. That's already where we are. That kind of snaps together there. Yeah, you have a 6 to an 8 at 2-3. Typically, if I get into the breakout situation with a trending move, you can also trail it behind the 14 EMA, which in strong trends, it rejects the 14 EMA, right? So if you were riding this up and you, from a 1 hour point of view, keeping your stop loss behind the 14 EMA, right, we get hit there. So if it does start to trend downward, tomorrow or whatever, I would deal with it in that way. But it's really also about seeing how much demand comes in here or not, and into new low ground, how much demand comes in or not, to know what to expect, which is basically high volume stopping the progress of the down move. If that doesn't appear, then it suggests the trade is going to continue. If it does, then it may not continue. Simple. Now, I also do this for the newer people. What am I trading into, right? Or another way to put it, if I was a buyer, which I'm certainly not, where would I look to buy? Where can I find out about buyers maybe a little sooner than down here, right? Would be here. If I was looking to buy, right? Forget our short for a second. Fib retracement. So here we can get information about how much buying is active. On occasion, you can get a signal occur here that really warns you that the trade is in trouble, right? So if buyers are around and going to cause any trouble, this is specifically the area to look out for them. So it's good information, right? If it, like I say, kind of floats through here without any significant demand coming in, high volume stopping the progress, and we sort of get through on medium volume, Very, very good sign you're getting to the low. Again, if you enter here and right off 50 fib or right off 618 or in here, volume spikes up, and as a result, you start to move up. That's certainly a situation where stop loss gets moved to break even, depending on how much demand came in, even partial profit taking. I do whatever the chart says. So if the chart is saying, wow, hypothetically, highest volume of the day just showed up on the 5-minute here giving strength. It really changes the situation. It's not a trade I would be, it's not something I would pick to be in. So I would immediately move my stop to break even, which actually, if you're testing here and you're having trouble getting through it, particularly with strength, it's not a bad idea to move stop to break even. Because if you reject this and you can end up all the way back to entry off strength, right? The situation didn't develop as well. So a bit of profit taking if strength shows up, stop at break even sort of thing. So it's a checkpoint to get some information about buyers. So again, the ideal thing is the lower the better. There's typically some increases in volume, but if you can kind of get past it and continue to see lower prices as a result, then you're looking fine. But if it just can't get lower prices because high volume, that's a warning. So it's not so much a target area when I do that. It's just more about information. But if large buyers come in, then I'll tend to take some profit, get rid of risk. But it's, a fib retracement sort of entry is back to the low. See how it behaves. And if you can expect lower, then you go for that too. But I'll typically take partial profit there. You could even lock in some pips, start trailing behind the 14, all that stuff. So that's my plan on management. It's pretty detailed because we're not going to be together forever to watch the whole trade play out. And again, stop loss in a place where I want to actually be out of the trade, not a random spot. Meaning all of this is fine, right? It wants to bounce around, it wants to double top, it wants to chop around in here. No problem. It doesn't have to go down in a straight line. So I like that. So I have that sort of half risk situation that I'm in something now in this bearish environment. So if AU, AJ just want to drop and they never quite got to the area we wanted and it just goes and I miss it, it's likely correlating with the euro dollar and I'm still going to get something. But, if this thing pops up and maybe double tops or little fib retracement of the move down, you get some weakness, it might just drag these guys up where I can look to put a position on that. Now, EJ I would not take because I'm already short the euro. So I would want to get away from that, and likely the Australian dollar and maybe the pound would be the option if I was going to do another trade on top of this one. But again, like I said, I got into this trade with about half my max risk. So it's all thinking ahead that I could still take a position on something else and not be over risking. All right, cool. I think I'll end the session. We did an extra 25 minutes or so, since there seemed to be something likely to set up. So there we go. And again, lower prices, the lower the better on volume. And we see how this is shaping up as we're getting into markdown style action underneath the very, very important test level. So we stayed down there. We didn't reject it on high volume and come back. We're accepting lower prices. And that's why I don't jump in immediately on these entries, because you have no demand here. Slightly below it is a confirmation, but we have automatic support. And to see price get accepted meaning it's not there for 2 seconds and comes back up. It sits there. And volume is not, price is not jumping around. You're not getting high volume. That's the kind of stuff I want to see for entry. This is really low volume, so it's just not hitting any buyers. So it should be all good. It's probably a 85% chance of this thing working out, 90% chance. All right, guys, cool. Steve, okay, gotcha. Gonna say that's not you. I want to know your reaction if it's anything like you expect. All right, guys. Let me send out this video as soon as it processes, which takes like half an hour. But anyway, you're all here. And I will see you next session. Okay, guys, have a good one.